Actually, Miami of last year, I was blowing up, my phone was blowing up, and I tried not to look at it a lot. And Rafa sent me a message, but I saw it like 4 days after.
He was buried in your DMs.
Yeah, so I left him undelivered for 4 days, and I almost died. Don't do that, guy. But he was super nice. Yeah, he got it.
What did you write back? Because Moise didn't know what to say. I told him just say thank you. I really appreciate the text. But what did you say to Rafa?
I mean, I said, first of all, I apologized for getting back to him so late. But no, I said thank you, and I'm fortunate enough to have seen him many times, be able to see him many times. So yeah, I say thank you all the time.
Most players win a big match, celebrate for a moment, and move on. But Eala's story had an extra twist. After her hard-fought 3-set comeback against Laura Siegemund at the Miami Open, Eala dropped a surprising detail in her post-match interview. She revealed that Rafael Nadal once messaged her, and she left him on red for 4 days. The interviewer's reaction said it all. And the tennis world? They had plenty to say too. Moments like this don't just entertain. They show how far Eala has already come in the sport, standing shoulder to shoulder with legends. Now it's your turn. White down pointing backhand index. What do you think Rafael Nadal said to Eala after her Miami run? And do moments like this prove she's already among the elite? Music, tell us in the comments.
We had Moise Kwame, the 17-year-old. He had his first ATP win come up here. He said he got a DM right after the match from Novak Djokovic.
Oh, wow.
Have you had any player or celebrity that has reached out to you that was extra special?
Well, yeah, I mean, yesterday, Peggy Go messaged me because I mentioned her on my story, and she messaged me back, and I was like, oh my gosh, and she was in my box today. I was super happy. Actually, Miami of last year, I was blowing up, my phone was blowing up, and I tried not to look at it a lot. And Rafa sent me a message, but I saw it like 4 days after.
He was buried in your DMs.
Yeah, so I left him undelivered for 4 days, and I almost died. Don't do that, guy. But he was super nice. Yeah, he got it.
Let's start with the match, because the Nadal story only hits the way it should if you understand what Eala had to go through to earn it. 3 sets. 3.5 hours. And across the net, Laura Siegemund doing exactly what she's known for. Breaking rhythm, slowing things down, constant conversations with the umpire, even a perfectly timed bathroom break at the start of the second set, just as Eala was beginning to find her flow. The first set? A tie-break, even though Eala had been the better player for most of it. The second set? A shift in mindset, a statement. And the third? Proof. Proof that once Eala locked in mentally and refused to be pulled into the psychological battle, those tactics simply stopped working. By the end, it wasn't just about tennis anymore. It was about resilience. When it was over, Eala stepped into the post-match interview sounding like someone who had just emptied the tank. Her voice was worn. She even apologized for it. After 3.5 hours of giving everything she had, it was only natural. Then came the question. The interviewer asked about that moment at the end, the roar, the release, the raw emotion after the final point. Had she always been that expressive? Had that fire always been there?
Many more people reaching out to you, congratulating you. You could potentially get Iga Swiatek in the next round. Rematch from here last year, one of the biggest wins of your life. What would you think about that rematch here in Miami?
I mean, I would love for it to happen. You know, I'm happy, really happy about this win, that I'm able to set myself up for a third round, whether it's with Iga or Magda. I think it's, it's the fact that I'm here is a really good, it's a really good step for me. Yeah.
Well, you bring such beautiful energy to the court every time you step on, Alex. Congratulations on the win today, and best of luck going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Her answer hit differently because it was completely unscripted. She said it plainly. This isn't juniors anymore. At this level, every match feels like life or death. She talked about the Australian Open, Manila, the 500-level events, the grind of a tour where everyone is dangerous, where every win has to be earned. That's why the emotion spills out at the end. It's not for show. It's the release that comes after giving everything. That response tells you exactly where Eala's mindset is right now. She's not surprised by big wins anymore, and she's not just happy to survive. She sees each match for what it is, a high-stakes battle that demands total commitment. And when it's over, the emotion is simply the proof that she gave it all. Then the conversation shifted to the stage itself. This was her first time back on that same center court since her breakthrough run at the 2025 Miami Open, the run where she arrived as a wildcard, ranked outside the spotlight, and stunned the tennis world. Wins over top players, a semifinal appearance, and suddenly everything changed. How fans saw her, how tournaments scheduled her, how the entire circuit viewed her. Now, a year later, she returned not as a surprise, but as a seed. With points to defend, with expectations, with a global fanbase behind her, she admitted there were nerves stepping back onto that court. But what she said next revealed everything. Even after losing the first set, she felt good. She knew she was playing well. She knew she could compete. Because the real work had already been done before the tournament even began. That's the difference. A wildcard walks in with nothing to lose. A seeded player walks in prepared, with identity, belief, and the certainty that they belong. Eala has clearly made that transition. Then came the crowd question, and it brought a lighter moment. When asked if any city's Filipino support had surprised her, she just smiled and said no. Because they are everywhere, she said it simply and without hesitation, like someone who has now traveled enough and competed on enough stages to understand a pattern. There are Filipinos everywhere. No matter where the tour goes, there's always a group that knows who she is, that shows up, that makes their presence felt. It's not occasional support. It's constant. But then she brought up the Australian Open, and that's where even she seemed genuinely surprised. She said she later saw video clips from one of her matches, lines stretching outside the court, people waiting just to get in. And this wasn't even the main draw. She was still playing qualifying. At that stage, her ranking wasn't what it is now. Her name wasn't widely known across the tennis world. She was still building. And yet, the demand was already there, fans lining up outside a qualifying court to watch someone many people hadn't even discovered yet. That moment stuck with her, and it's exactly what the Miami tournament director had noticed too. Before this year's event, he admitted he learned his lesson the hard way. Players like Eala and João Fonseca couldn't be placed on smaller courts anymore. Not because of rankings, but because of what followed them. The crowds would find them anyway. The interest was too global, too strong. Fans were flying in, showing up in numbers that made it feel less like a neutral venue and more like a home match. And he was right. Center court at Hard Rock Stadium was alive during her match against Siegemund, loud in a way you usually only hear in the later rounds. The Filipino crowd did what it always does. They showed up fully, stayed locked in from start to finish, and turned the atmosphere into something that matched the intensity on the court. Then the interview shifted, and the tone changed with it. The interviewer brought up Moise Kouam, the 17-year-old who had just won his first ATP match, and revealed afterward that Novak Djokovic had messaged him right after the win. That opened the door to a more personal question. Had Eala ever received a message from a player or celebrity that meant something to her? She paused for a second, thinking it through. She mentioned Peggy, likely another player, who had messaged her just the day before after being tagged in a story, and had even been in her box during the Siegemund match. And then came the moment. She casually mentioned that after her Miami run last year, when her phone was flooded with messages she was trying not to check, Rafael Nadal had reached out to her. She paused, smiled, and then added the part that changed everything. She didn't see it until 4 days later. She left Rafael Nadal on unread for 4 days. The interviewer's reaction, pure disbelief mixed with laughter, was exactly right, because what Eala described was one of the most human moments imaginable. Her phone was exploding after one of the biggest weeks of her career. Messages everywhere. Noise everywhere. And she was doing everything she could to stay locked in, to protect her focus, to not let the moment overwhelm her while the tournament was still alive. Somewhere in that flood of notifications was a message from Rafael Nadal, and she didn't see it for 4 days. One of the greatest athletes in the history of sport sat there with a delivered message unread while she was busy making a semifinal run at the Miami Open. When she finally opened it, she said she nearly had a heart attack, which, honestly, is the only reasonable reaction for what Nadal said. She didn't reveal the exact words. Just that he was incredibly kind and that she apologized for the late reply. But here's what makes it even more meaningful. This wasn't a random celebrity message. Eala spent years training at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca, developing her game from a young age in the environment he built. This connection runs deeper than a one-off interaction. The mindset she plays with, the resilience, the discipline, the refusal to give up on points, those are values shaped in part by that system. And now she's working directly with Tony Nadal, continuing that same philosophy. So when Nadal reached out, it wasn't just a legend congratulating a rising star. It was someone connected to her journey, recognizing a moment they both understood mattered. The interviewer pointed out that Nadal had definitely seen the delay. Eala laughed. Then she said she thanked him, told him she appreciated the message, and added almost casually that she sees him quite often anyway. That small detail says everything, that she's not starstruck. She's grounded. grateful but not overwhelmed. She understands exactly where she is now, part of a world where messages from Rafael Nadal are normal, not unimaginable. Toward the end, the conversation shifted to what might come next, a potential third-round clash with Iga Swiatek, a rematch the tennis world has been waiting for since the draw dropped. Eala didn't overhype it. She said she'd love for it to happen, but emphasized that reaching the third round itself was already an important step. No matter who's on the other side, that's the mindset you want at this stage. Focused. Measured. Ready, she won the match. She told the Nadal story. And she made it clear she's prepared for whatever comes next. She left Rafael Nadal on unread for 4 days, nearly collapsed when she finally saw it, and still went out and beat Siegemund in 3 sets. If Alex Eala's Miami 2026 run isn't already one of your favorite stories in sports right now, you might be watching the wrong tournament. Hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. What do you think Nadal said to her?